back to our PACtrospective here. And today we got a special treat because we're talking about Bloodwetting by Federico García Lorca. And this was one of the first times that I met our guest today, which is Mr. J Hernandez. What's up, Jay?
What's up, man?
So I love it. So Jay right now is in his studio. And we're going to talk about the studio later on. We'll work our way back. We're going to work our way from the beginning to the present. But Jay, yeah, like the first time I met you, sort of when you came in to audition for Bloodwetting. But before we get to that, because you were this guy who came to town in 2013 because you were working at Philly Shakespeare.
That's right.
A wonderful friend of ours, Forrest McClendon. I know. I think introduced you to Carmen at Philly Shakespeare, and that's how you came up here. So, but before that, can you tell a little bit about like where you came from? Because you're from Texas,
that's
and
right.
Then your schooling that kind of got you to be who you are, and then brought you up here. So maybe a little bit about yourself, Jay.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan. So yeah, originally I'm from the border of Mexico, the Rio Grande Valley, yeah, got into theater. When I was probably like sophomore, year, somewhere around there. And just, went to college, got a scholarship, College of Santa Fe. After that, decided to go out for my master's in directing, Texas State University. And then after that, Master's of Fine Arts over in Virginia. And it was there that, I learned about the Shakespeare educational circuit. To where like, you plop into a van, you got like the nice, non-union tours that are going on, and just driving up and down the East Coast, just doing Shakespeare. I love that. I love doing that. Yeah.
Shakespeare Educational Circuit is the name of my emo band. Yeah. I mean, if you want to like sit in on keyboard at some point, you're welcome to it.
But yeah, so I had done that, and finally, like kind of like how any apprenticeship works, I got the chance to finally be on a few of their main stages, and that's where I played Mercutio for North Carolina Shakespeare, and that's where I met Forrest McClendon, who was playing the Friar, and he and we had absolutely no scenes together whatsoever. Right. But it's just one of those things that, of course, like I always told my students, I'm like, look, work as hard as you can because you have no idea who's watching you.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were done, I didn't think that I would see anybody, like any of the union actors who were in that show, ever again. And then what was it? Probably like a couple months later, like Forrest just says, hey, I think you should audition for this show that I'm doing up in Philadelphia. We're doing Othello. We're looking for Iago. You should audition. I'm like, you guys got plenty of folks in Philly. It's like, you don't need me. He's like, no, I think you should audition. so that's how that happened. And wouldn't you know, dude, when I was supposed to come up to audition initially, it was Hurricane Sandy had come in. Right. Hurricane Sandy had come in, and I was living in Charlottesville at the time. I kept a room there purposefully because I love that city, even though I was on tour for like the better part of like 3-4 years. But at that time, Amtrak was closed. Amtrak was closed from like what I think from Virginia all the way to DC. Like nothing was going past Washington DC.
Sure.
So I was like, Carmen, I don't think it's going to work out. I guess, the timing is just bad, but I do thank you for the opportunity. She's like, no, you're still going to come out. You're still going to come out. You're still going to audition. We're just going to reschedule it. So like what I will say, like what, probably like a couple of weeks later, went and auditioned for that, John, and ended up getting it like day of, which was nice. And then, after like a couple months, came to Philadelphia, and I realized, you know what, I think I kind of just want to live here. And it was great, man. So that's kind of like where it is that I've been, just condensed.
So yeah, because you said you were on tour for like 3 or 4 years, and like I've done a couple of tours, but like I've never toured for that long. So just that experience of living out of the suitcase and to finally find a home you know, that you actually want to call home means so much.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
So you ended up finding a home here in Philly, and you ended up, you've since 2013, you've kind of been nonstop working. So in our first experience was you came in and you auditioned for Blood Wedding.
That's right.
And I remember because we didn't really know each other. We didn't know each other at the time. This is like total, just like professional kind of
Yeah.
thing.
It's like I think we had met each other in passing over at Jose Pistola's.
Yes.
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I come in real quick because I had a couple friends of mine who came in to see a fellow. And who was it? Delaney was there as well. And I introduced myself to Delaney because they were my mutual friends who came to see the show were friends with him.
Mhm.
And then you were there.
Oh, right. Because we were doing
Yeah.
it was in Ashnua. I was doing Hand of Gaul, which
Yeah,
was
yeah.
play.
And I extended my hand to you and I was like, "Hi, I'm Jay Hernandez." And you're like, "Oh yeah, I know who you are." Yeah. Yeah, I saw you over the auditions. Yeah.
Oh, right. Because you came in for the GPAA.
But then again, you didn't mention as to whether or not I was good. So, so I was
oh no, I got to tell the quick story about like that's the first time I saw you. It was when you came in for the Greater Philadelphia annual auditions, and you walked in. You didn't even say your name. Like you just kind of like walked in. You did 2 monologues, killed it, and then left. Never said anything to anybody. I just walked in, like you never said your name. And just like I just remember, and you were so good. And I was like, who's this joker? Who's this joker coming in here, not announcing who he is, and like being so damn handsome and good? And I was like, this is garbage. So yeah. So
so then that explains so much when I go up to you, Jose Pasolas. Hi, I'm Jay Hernandez. Oh yeah, I know who you are.
That's so funny. I probably had a couple beers. Yeah, but it was not like write off Jay. It was like bring in Jay. Jay's so good. So yeah, I remember. So you came in for a Blood Wedding, and I remember you came in wearing this cloak, this jacket. I don't know if you still have that jacket, but it was just.
I know exactly which one you're talking about. It was like kind of like this sleeveless, kind of like hooded thing that just drifted down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you were coming in for Leonardo, and you killed it. And it was like, well, I mean, it's got to be Jay Hernandez. So this was great because this was our first time working at Drexel in the Mandel Professional in Residence project. And so one of the things that was important for us when we were looking for actors was also, trying to find actors that we thought, well, we're going to really work well with the Drexel actors too, because it wasn't just like we were hiring professionals here. We had 8 guest artists, you being one of them, working with, this was the biggest show that we've ever done still up to this time, because we had 8 guest artists, we had 10 Drexel actors, we had 2 professional musicians, 1 or 2 Drexel musicians, 3 Drexel dancers, and a partridge in a pear tree. So it was this big cast.
It was an undertaking, man. I'm just getting flashbacks, and I was like, man, it's like that was a huge ensemble. That really was a huge ensemble.
Yeah, and you played the brooding Leonardo. And what was great was that you captured that so well. This kind of like, how would you characterize Leonardo?
I mean, the way that I'd characterize the guys, it's like he's just a walking pile of regret. And of course, like having already a crash course on Lorca and playing Leonardo before, like all of it just like came just like incredible, just so easily. Because it was just like flicking on and off a switch, because like I had played it just like years previously, and especially in a play that is rarely ever done, at least from what it is that I've seen in professional theater. But yeah, I mean that's basically like the way that I would just characterize this guy. It's like, because when you have just something like regret, like you have all these other things that are just tied along with it, which is depression, anger, hostility, like all sorts of just negative attributes, that folks just carry around with them, who just who just have this horrible sense of regret of the things that they should have done.
Yeah, it's like, when we talk about regret, if we put the regret in a pot of water and then put it on the front burner and then turn it up to 10, that's Leonardo. As it
Oh yeah,
starts simmering and just like as the lid is going like this, and then the end of Act Two, boom, it's gone.
because yeah,
Uh,
you look at him in any scene, he's all the things. He's
yeah.
just all the things, and that's the beautiful thing about Lorca is that every single character will, like in the same sense as Shakespeare, is that every single character, if they're going through their emotional depths, they're always going to say what's on their mind, and
Mhm.
if not, they're going to exclaim just like somehow,
Right.
whereas you just go back to like what it is that all these folks are just feel is just passion, just so much freaking passion, and like when this passion is just squashed, it's going to make folks just even angrier. um so yeah, that's the one thing that I always saw just in that guy, and it was just so easy to tap into.
Yeah, and like for our production, there are different ways in to plays because a few years back, um, the Wilma did Blood Wedding, and I didn't see the full production, but I saw the workshop they did, and the workshop that they did was very physical. It was a very movement based Blood Wedding. Our way in was music,
Yeah.
so ours was a very very musical Blood Wedding, and
And
actually,
Kalucha's stuff, man.
yeah.
It's chef's kiss, man. It's so
It's so
good.
good. Yeah, and actually, for the PACtrospective, the music that we play in the beginning and the end is actually from Blood Wedding. So it's a piece that Chris wrote called "Death Leads the Band." So I use it all the time to kind of intro the pieces and outro the pieces. So yeah, it was an extremely musical piece. Um, it was a beautiful piece. It was a very, really kind of getting into the light and shade of Lorca. Um, and not only just with the language, but also in terms of the visual that we were creating. Because Dom Chacon was our lighting designer, and Dom created all these beautiful kind of almost painterly images. Like I remember there was one image of uh, the nurse or I forget her. I think she's a servant to the bride,
Mhm.
and it's her waving goodbye to everybody at the wedding, and we just see like it's going from like the sun coming up, and then we just see like the sun come down, and
Yeah.
it's just a metaphor for exactly what's going to be happening in the play as well.
So
uh,
a question to you actually,
yeah, yeah.
in terms of just doing Lorca, doing Blood Wedding. Now, would you have been able to do something like this, say, in Broad Street, as opposed to the space that Drexel had offered?
Sure. I mean, it would have been very very different, because we wouldn't have been able to do as much in terms of the imagery we were creating, and just like the space is smaller at BSM. And that's the thing, is that we wouldn't do Blood Wedding at BSM, and that's part of the Drexel thing of the Mandel Professional and Residence Project. Because any of the companies that have worked with Drexel as an MPerp, it's not the big companies that do it, it's the smaller mid-sized companies.
Hmm.
Because what this allows them to do is to do that show that they normally can't do on their own,
Yeah.
because you get the Mandel, which is a big theater. You get a certain amount of money from Drexel as well. You get the use of their costume shop, the scene shop. You get a TD. You get a production manager. You get all the box office support. You get a ton of stuff that comes with this, and so it's a really awesome collaboration that maybe doesn't
Yeah.
get talked about enough in town, about how awesome it is for smaller mid-sized companies to be a part of that.
Yeah.
'Cause it
And
really
Nick
allows.
Anselmo is just a really nice guy.
He's a great guy. I
He's
mean,
like the
that.
nicest guy.
Yeah, it's like shout out to Nick Anselmo right now, because like it's also how we were talking before we started this about teaching, and I teach online now because everything's online, and I started teaching at Drexel, and that was the first place I started teaching back in '08, because Nick said, "Hey, how about why don't you teach here?" And so he was the guy that got me into teaching. Um, so talk just like because there's more stuff that I want to talk about in addition to Blood Wedding, but can you think of this is going back now 7 years since we did the show,
Oh my
but
goodness, has it really been 7 years?
it'll be 7 years in the fall. Yeah.
Wow, man, that's a
So
trip.
when you think about that, like, are there certain things that you remember from that? Do you take from it, or things that were different because you said you worked on it before, and like maybe things that came to you this time that maybe, because it's always great, as an actor, when you have that opportunity to do a role again that you had done a few years before, and we don't often get that chance. Like, I don't know how many times you've done that, but Leonardo's one of them. So what would you say, like, were the things you found this time that you had touched upon the first time?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that I was able to bring to it this time was just age, which was nice. Because when I had first done Leonardo, this was back at Texas State University, and I was still just like in my early to mid 20s when I did that. I was in grad school, and then doing acting work at the same time. Um, and of course, so it was easy to tap into that hot-headedness,
Hmm.
you know. I mean, you when you find just like that angst, that resides like in anyone who's that age, it's pretty simple just to get to. Whereas when I was doing it for PAC, and of course just like being in my mid 30s, and then of course just like having the experiences behind me of just not being of just trying to just make it more personal, of just like not being able to have to have any type of home for my own, because I was still transient at the time,
Mm.
and just having just like that weariness about it, to where when you find someone who has just that amount of regret that's in them, of course it just makes them very, very, very freaking tired. It's like it's just like it just wears on you every single day.
Mm.
um and I would say that this time it was age that I was just able to tap into this time.
Mm.
um and then but then not only that, I mean, getting away even from my performance, just even like the scale of the show that we were able to put together, I mean, it was beautiful, dude. It was like, because I know that even like for a good portion of shows that I'm in, I don't take it upon myself to go into the audience to watch. And this was one I was like, oh, I want to go watch this, man. I just want to see how this goes. So, um, like even like Leonardo, like in the guts of the play, like he's actually not in it a lot.
Right.
I mean, he's not. So I know, and I know that Eric Scotalots, we would sneak out. We would sneak out of the dressing room even during performance to watch the show. So it was great just like seeing just, not only just like the spectacle of supernumeraries up there, of just like the amount of folks who were up there, but
Mm.
of course just the spectacle of the music, the spectacle of the lights, the sound, everything it was gorgeous, dude. It's a gorgeous show.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was one thing that was definitely different this time around. Not to say that there wasn't a heap ton of care that was put on the production that I was in before,
Mm.
but this one was just, it was so pleasing to the eye. It really
Yeah.
was. And not only that, like you had Judith as a mother as well, who, you couldn't take your eyes off either.
Powerhouse, Judith Clark.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so and then going from there, you and I have worked together like a number of times since then, and you have a distinction uh in being the last show that I saw before everything shut down, because you were in a tremendous production of Everything Is Wonderful.
Everything is wonderful. Yeah. Oh snap!
Coming
I
up
didn't know
with
you
your
saw that.
company. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nice. Yeah, I saw. I think I saw you afterwards. But yeah, I thought that was oh God, it was a gorgeous show, and so well done. I thought you all were excellent, and it was just great. Um, so and then
Thanks,
everything
man. I
took,
appreciate that. Yeah.
of course, of course. Because I think the last time I saw you before that is like, we're talking with a Haas nominated actor over here, Mr. J Hernandez, and I was honored to give you the intro speech for that. Um,
And you had to take a dig at my Cowboys too. You had to do
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I'm really pleased that you're not wearing a cowboy shirt right now, because I would have
I
turned this
should
thing
have,
off right
man.
from the beginning. Right from the beginning. Nope. No, no, no. Let me see if Judith is available. So I want to talk about like a little bit of what you've been doing since we've been shut down. And you know, part of that kind of leads into everything, because I'm sure people have been fascinated, like, you know, hearing about your story, and you coming to Philly and work you did on Blood Wedding. But I'm sure they've also been fascinated and looking at, is that Optimus Prime in the background? Who's that over there? So can you talk a little bit about this world that's behind you, Jay, and what you've been up to?
Yeah, I mean, well, as far as what it is that I've been doing in pandemic, um, of course, like any actor, you know, we've been finding side hustles as far as, you know, anything that's still in the performance realm. So of course, like I've been doing standardized patient, you know, I've been doing online readings and performances and whatnot. And when I'm not doing that, you know, like I had like this little side gig that I did for fun, and that was my YouTube channel. Um, so I'm a big collector of of geek memorabilia, you know, coming from Star Wars, you know, Marvel, DC comic books and whatnot. And of course, I love action figures. You know, like I've collected, you know, ever since I was a kid, off and on. So what was an escape for me during, I guess in real life, you know, pre-pandemic, kind of became semi full time. You know,
Hmm.
like if I'm not, if I'm not doing, any of the aforementioned hustles that I have been doing, I'm usually just putting stuff together for my YouTube channel, and which pretty much just resides in like this universe of geekdom here. So like, yeah, as you can see, you know, like I have like my Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, Transformers, GI Joes, like all sorts of stuff around here.
But and I'm gonna put on here your YouTube link so that people can check this out and watch you as you talk about, because like it's mostly you on voiceover talking about all this.
Mhm.
I was watching your top 10 figures of the last decade.
And which is a good video. It's actually not half bad. But
No,
yeah,
they're
but
really good.
yeah, and it also taps into something that I absolutely adored when I was in high school. I was an AV geek back in
Uh-huh.
high school, as well as being a theater geek. Hey, double trouble. So
Oh.
I love editing, man. I love, like, if I had not gone into theater, I would have totally gone into communications and local news. Like
Hmm.
that's what it is that I wanted to do.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I love editing, man. Like even like now, like I'm editing for Delaware Shakespeare.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Amazing. Well, awesome, Jay Hernandez. Thanks so much for coming in. It's good to see you.
yeah.
And you know, I always say, like, one of the great things about, you know, doing this PACtrospective, uh, this is like one of the skills that I tried to learn over the course of the pandemic, which was like, I'm editing because like I'm putting these things together and you know, putting in the intros and the outros. But more importantly, it gives a chance to connect with some people that I haven't seen and that I love, that I haven't seen in quite a while. So it's good to see you, buddy. Glad you're
You too,
doing
man.
well, and looking forward to seeing you in person sometime soon.
Oh, soon, hopefully.
All right, man. Take care.
Later.